Hey everyone, in this video, we're going to look at one of the new features released in the all-in-one Affinity app, Mesh Gradients. They allow you to create customized gradients on both fills and strokes with more precision than other fill options. We'll talk about where to find the tool, the construction of the mesh grid itself, and how to customize the gradients and save them. Are you ready? Let's get started. Mesh Gradient is one of two new options within the Fill tool, which is a default tool within the Vector, Pixel, and Layout studios, and you can add it to any custom studio you create, like I've done here. Now, just like any other fill, the mesh gradient needs an object in place for it to be engaged, whether it's a built-in shape, a shape you've created yourself, or text. You can also add a mesh gradient to a fill layer, which is what I'm going to do here. To add the fill layer, I'll head up to the pixel menu at the top and choose New Fill Layer. Now, it's going to add whatever color you have selected in your color picker. You can start with a color fill, or you can start without one by clicking on the null sign and then building up your colors using the gradient mesh. I'm going to go ahead and choose this red to set mine. Now, any fill, including the mesh gradient, can be added to either the fill or stroke of an object simply by choosing the context up here in the contextual menu. Now, since I'm adding this to a fill layer, I'll just leave that as is. Under type, I'll choose mesh, and you can see that it adds a grid to my background. The mesh grid consists of horizontal and vertical lines with color stops at each junction between those lines. If you've used the mesh warp under the vector warp tool, this grid looks and works very similarly. You can add color to a color stop using your sliders or your swatch palette. You can also add transparent space in the gradient by clicking on the null sign. And you can see that when I do that, it changes my node to a null sign so that you know that it's not white, it's actually transparent. Now, because there is transparency, if you have something behind your mesh grid, it is going to show through. You can reduce the opacity of a color stop by going to your color panel and using this opacity slider. Now, once again, that does create transparency, so anything in the background is going to show through. You can select a single color stop with a click, like I did here. You can select several color stops two ways. First, you can select your first node, hold down Shift on your keyboard, and then select the rest of the nodes. Now, in this case, it doesn't have to be contiguous color stops. In other words, those that are right next to one another. So I can add the same color to these. I'll go ahead and add this sort of deep teal color. The other way, in addition to shift clicking, is that you can click and drag across a series of contiguous color stops. So I'm going to add, I think, this lighter color here. Each color stop has a set of handles that allow you to control the flow for the color between the intersections, and they work the same as handles on a curve. So I can grab this handle and I can pull it out. I can pull it up and down, so I'm pulling the lighter color into that deep teal, or the deep teal down into the lighter color. And you can see that as I do that, it changes the gradient between the stops. Now you'll notice that when I move a handle, the opposite handle moves along with it. It doesn't work independently. If you do want to move only one handle, in other words, form a cusp, you can hold Alt or Option down on your keyboard, and you can see that my node changed from a circle to a square. You can also go up to the top here to Junction and click on Cusp instead. In addition to pulling the handles out, up, and down, I can also rotate them. You do want to be careful how much you rotate them, because if you go too far, you'll see that you get these what looks like a tear in the mesh. So just watch how far you go. Now, rather than moving the handles, you can also either move the path between the nodes. So I can push this up and maybe push this down. You can also move the nodes themselves, whether you have one or select multiple. So I can take this one. You can see that I get a four-way arrow there, and I can move this around. I can also select two or more and move them together. Additionally, if you click inside a quadrant, in other words, one of these squares, so I'll click inside here, you can see that I get that little blue dot. And when I move it, it moves the entire quadrant. Now, just keep in mind when you're moving nodes, path, and handles, anything that's along the edge of your shape or your canvas like this is going to pull away from the edge and you'll begin to get a transparency. So I'm going to Command or Control Z to bring that back. The grid is customizable in a few ways. You can delete color stops, which is going to widen the space between intersections. In other words, it's going to make your squares larger. So I can select this one and delete it. And you can see that it removed a lot of the color, But what it also did is make this particular quadrant larger and feather out the gradient between it. The wider the space between your lines and within a quadrant, the more room the gradient has to spread out and feather. The closer the gap between them, you'll begin to start to see more distinct lines that almost look like ribbons. So let me bring that one back. I'm going to take these two nodes, and if I start pulling them down, you can start to see a line form right about there. Now, it can work in your favor if that's what you're trying to create. Just be careful because, again, if you go too far past, you're going to start to see tears in your mesh. So if I bring that right there, I can create somewhat of a line right in the middle. So you can sort of sculpt the mesh and create interesting shapes. You could also add either vertical or horizontal lines to the grid by hovering over an existing line until you get that little swiggle there and clicking to add a color stop. Adding a color stop to an existing vertical line is going to add a new horizontal line and vice versa. Just like any other fill, mesh gradients can be saved as a swatch to use in the future. Now, if you do want to be able to use it in any document, not just the one you're currently in, make sure that you're adding it to an application-wide palette, not a document-specific palette. If you don't already have a palette set up, go to the caret at the top of your swatch palette and choose Add Application Palette. You can name it whatever you want and save it. Once that's in place, with your object, text, or fill layer selected, click on this little plus sign here on the swatch palette, and it's going to add it there. With that in place, once you either drag out a new shape, add a new fill layer, or text like I've done here, you can add that mesh gradient once you've selected the shape itself as well as the fill tool. If you don't select the fill tool, it's not going to allow you to add the mesh gradient. So with both of those selected, I can click on that. It's going to add it there. I can select the square and do the same thing. And this is a live mesh, so I can make adjustments to the gradient as needed. You can add visual interest to your mesh gradient by adding live filters or adjustments to the object or fill layer. So you can add them down here at the bottom. Now, just one note, if you're working on a fill layer like I am, live filters don't work directly on the fill layer if they're clipped inside, which is going to happen automatically if you have the layer selected when you add it. So either make sure that you have nothing selected, or if it does clip itself inside the filter or the fill layer, just move it out and then it'll work just fine. So I'm going to make sure I have nothing selected. I'll go to my live filters and I'm going to add a noise filter. Now, subtle noise tends to work best with these mesh gradients, but play around with the settings to see what works for yours. I'm going to bring this up to about 15. Now, I do want to note, live filters and adjustments don't get saved with swatches, but you can always add them back in at any time. So have you tried out the new mesh gradient yet? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions about what we covered in this tutorial, let me know that as well. I have lots more Affinity tutorials and live sessions in the works, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. In the meantime, you might want to check out one of these two next. Thanks for watching.